I was born in Melbourne, and I then moved to Sydney when I was about, I finished uni, so about 23, I moved to Sydney, lived here for 7 years, and then I went to work in Perth for a year, supposedly, to go and work in the private sector there with a production company, and I ended up being in Perth for 15 years. So I ran Screen West over in Perth and then came back to Sydney, and it's nearly 5 years ago that I came back to Sydney. So I call myself an urban dispossessed white fella, trying to work out where is home actually. And the other unusual place that I've lived was actually in Germany. So I went to live in Cologne, for 6 months when I was studying German and German literature. And so it's been really great to actually live in a European country as well. It's taught me lots of things because it's actually taught me that in Australia we have many different cultures, and also that there's so much talent that exists outside the centre. People tend to believe that if anyone was any good, they would have left Perth or left Bunbury or Busselton or whatever and gone to Sydney or to Melbourne. It's not that different to people thinking if you're any good, you'd be in LA or you'd be in London. But actually there's all sorts of reasons, and in a digital world, there's no excuse for why talented people can't live all around the country, and there should be access and opportunity for people right across the country. I actually studied French and German literature and language. That was my love, and at the same time I did a law degree. And so I always thought that I would find it really hard working in the arts and being able to eat in the arts, so I saw law as my trade. And the beautiful irony is that I managed to use the two, so that I originally started working as a lawyer at the ABC. And then I ended up moving across into funding of projects and into the private sector and so on. But yeah, it was actually for me more through literature and theatre and my love of languages, and then the rest of it kind of came that way. I'm travelling on a riverboat mansion. I think if people are going to try and break into an industry which is as tough as being in the arts and entertainment world, I mean, it's so competitive. I like to call it almost like the Olympic Games, really, in our own sector, that really it's an area where so many people want to do it and so few manage to get through. My big thing is to be street smart, and that is to actually research, to actually work really hard, to actually treat our industry as if it were any other profession. Treat it professionally. So it means actually doing the hard yards. You wouldn't think that you don't just become a dentist. You spend years and years training and finding out information and studying and focusing on it properly as a profession. In the same way, I think if you're going to be a producer or a director or a writer or a camera person or whatever, you have to actually just really focus on finding as much information as you can, watching as many films as you can, getting into the networks, getting into the industry organisations, going along to the screen resource organisations, signing up to all the newsletters, reading the websites, the amount of information we've got on our website about who we fund, what we fund. You can then, come in here, talk to us, ask to watch DVDs of people's work, research really hard. Who are the people who are going to fit for you to work with, and then network with them. Join Women in Film and Television or join these organisations and gradually plot and work hard to make your career possible. That's the strongest tip I can give. A vision by the sun. Meetings are kind of the bane of your life, because you could end up with your whole life in meetings. It's quite true. I like to get really sort of tough on meetings, and I've now, I suppose, chaired enough meetings to sort of be really quite full on about it. I don't think you should have a meeting if you're not actually clear on why you're there and who's responsible for what and what the results are when you come out of it. And I think you've got to get in, do it really fast, be really tough, and get out. I think it's important that people who chair meetings don't actually talk all the time, which isn't easy for me, as you can tell, but sometimes you've actually got to shut up and let other people, make sure that you really are chairing a meeting. And today I heard one which was really interesting. There's a guy in the BBC who apparently only has meetings standing up, and they end up with his top executives. He's got a high table that you can actually put papers on, but because they call them standing meetings, and they're no longer than 20 minutes because people don't want to stand up for longer. Interesting approach, I reckon. I love Tim Winton, and for me it was An Open Swimmer, which is the one of his that I love above all. Some others. I love the Canadian writer Michael Ondaatje, and he wrote one called Coming Through Slaughter that I absolutely love as well. And probably, gosh, there's so many others because I love reading books, but I really love Peter Carey. And I'm not sure whether I'd go Oscar and Lucinda or which one, but yeah, I love Peter Carey's writing too. You shall not have to walk alone. My soapbox topic is about the value of the screen industry. When people start questioning whether, people should make Australian films or whether they're going to see Australian films or whether there's any economic value in the industry or whether our businesses are viable or not, or whether, cultural elements are relevant anymore and so on like that. I could talk about that for days. And, in essence, I just think that, our industry is actually the way that people spend the most of their leisure time out of everything. When they measure what it is people do in their leisure time, it's going to see movies or watching television, hands down, above sport, above everything. Sport on television? Yeah, that too. But it really is the highest thing. And I think that the notion that something should be either cultural or economic and can't be both is crazy. That's what our industry is. It's not only an economic argument, nor is it only a cultural argument, it's both. And there you go, that's my soapbox again. Rivers meet, nuclear, a vision by the sun.